Hey guys, welcome back. Today I have a couple things that we'll need to discuss in regards to surviving on the Nightmare Zone of State of Decay 2. In particular, we're going to explore home-based management, 5th tier survivor skill selection, and facility modifications. We have quite a bit to cover, so come on up and we'll go from there.
Hey guys! It has been a little while, but I'm looking forward to this discussion.
So our first order of business is going to be home-based management. And from my experience, the Nightmare Zone starts you off on a running pace. So things can get overwhelming rather quickly, but there are ways to minimize this.
I would agree. In fact, I think the 3 special skills you get to pick when starting Community can alleviate some of the difficulties.
Alright, let's do this. Junior? So before one can even manage their base, they must choose 3 survivors to begin the community. Their skills are extremely important, and given the first house one moves into, they should be chosen carefully. Now, the skills I like to go for are gardening, computers, and medicine, with chemistry taking a close fourth.
Those sound like logical choices. The gardener increases food yield and can specialize into agriculture or herbalism. Computer expert increases outposts and allows for other useful tools. And the medic helps to maintain a given community's inhabitants.
Not to mention that infirmaries can help with the morale, and medics can unlock the 3rd infirmary upgrade. But that will get us into morale, which will be a recurrent theme throughout our discussion. But anyways, yes, those are the main reasons I chose those 3 skills first. Plus, I've deduced that the other skills are either unnecessary or skills that can wait until further development.
Alright, London, so given the skills you would use in the beginning, how would they affect one's survival in the first tutorial house? And what kind of facilities are necessary at that time?
When one starts off, there is naturally no strain on one's ammo, materials, or gas reserves, so food and medication are the primary concern. Naturally, I see it logical to have a garden, ideally upgraded, to ease some of the stress on one's food reserves, as that will be the greatest concern. Medical supply strain is easily rectified by claiming 2 medical outposts so that they are brought to 0 losses per day. Now, in order to maximize the effects and upgrades of one's garden, one must have access to water. So naturally, I would also suggest having a rain collector for increased yields and a morale boost.
But can't they also use a water cooler instead? And use the last slot for a workshop as opposed to a rain collector?
Absolutely. Provided, of course, they can find a water cooler. If they can, then yes, absolutely put a workshop in place. Anybody who has seen the earlier survival guides will understand the importance of using craftable incendiaries or explosives if necessary, and the workshop is one's main facility for that. Keep in mind that everything we have discussed so far will create a major tax on your material reserves, plus all upgrades and building costs are doubled, so haste is required.
So the first 3 skills one should start off with are gardening, medicine, and computers, with chemistry as a close alternative. The most beneficial facilities are a garden, infirmary, and a rain collector, unless you have a water cooler, in which case one should invest in a workshop. But it is important to keep in mind the loss in morale. People like base-wide water. Besides, there might be other more important modifications, but this is just the tutorial house. Naturally, people move to bigger spaces and take on more community members. What about that?
Well, here is where a bit of creativity takes place, and I will be speaking with the standard of one who has 6 or 7 survivors. 8 survivors and up will require some modification. So first of all, I have to point out that getting out of your tutorial home should be priority 1. The faster this is done, the faster you can increase your survivability and manage your resources more effectively. Anyways, after moving out, one's main focus should be on creating a system of resources that feeds itself. This will take a mixture of facilities and outposts.
So what skills would you say are necessary to create this system of resources?
My recommendation? 2 gardening survivors, 1 for agriculture and 1 for herbalism. 1 medicine with either specialization, 1 computer with either specialization, one chemist with any specialization, one utilities with electrical specialization, and one mechanic with a preference toward auto mechanics.
Interesting. So how do these skills create a self-feeding system? It's impossible to create everything without losing an equal or greater amount.
Well, pay close attention because this will be important. First, I'll go through the facilities one should have given the skills I have outlined. When harboring 6 to 7 survivors, one will require at least 2 hydroponics, 1 solar array, a level 3 infirmary or field hospital, level 3 command center, a still, and a level 3 workshop or Red Talon workshop. Hydroponics produce food. Food can be used for the still, which provides base-wide water, and can create fuel, and fuel is a major aid to crafting incendiaries at a workshop, while also being essential for travel. If one has 8 survivors, then they may require a 3rd hydroponic or farm, as well as a large base to sustain the facilities.
And hydroponics can also produce meds, and meds are a requirement for the upkeep of your survivors. The solar array provides base-wide power and provides a morale boost. The hydroponics, workshop, and command center benefit from having power. Now I see how each of these facilities benefit each other, but I think you're forgetting about facility maintenance. Naturally, there will be a tax on your materials. It's also very difficult to stretch gas to create incendiaries and gas cans for vehicles, especially since the cost of everything has doubled.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because this is where modifications and computer skills come into play. This current system of facilities and skills is slow and delicate, but it does work. The process is easily sped up when one can find the correct modifications. For hydroponic facilities, nothing beats the compost bin modification as it doubles food yield at the expense of 1 unit of food. A close second is the fertilizer mod, which gives a 50% boost, and then there's the gardening tools, which provides 30% in yield boost. Add seeds on top of this, and food concerns should become inexistent. The field hospital or level 3 infirmary can have a series of modifications without one necessarily being better than the other, so that is up to one's personal discretion. Workshops are almost the same story, but I do have a personal bias toward a filing machine, which provides greater yield to crafted combustibles and bolts. The command center is the trump card when maintaining one's resources. A fully upgraded command center allows 4 slots for collection outposts, but it is almost paramount that one manages to find a signal booster, which will allow 2 additional slots for outposts. For the setup of facilities I've outlined, I would recommend 3 material outposts, 2 gas outposts, and 1 ammunition outpost.
So if I'm understanding this correctly, food, medication, and some gas reserves are produced in the base through hydroponics and a still, while materials, ammunition, and another small portion of gas are produced outside the base with the relevant outposts. Now, my only question is, how do you acquire those crucial modifications? And earlier you said that 2 of the outposts would be for medication to have 0 losses per day. How could one support 3 materials, 2 gas, and 1 ammunition outpost if they wish to maintain medication outposts?
One thing that you must remember is that maximized skills come with their own perks. Maximized agriculture provides 1 additional unit of food. Herbalism provides 1 extra unit of meds, meaning that one will only lose 1 unit of meds a day, which is easily dealt with when one switches over to medication production. As for where to find these helpful mods, traders are your best option. They do come at random, so patience is required. But ensure that you have at least 1,500 units of influence in preparation.
Alright. Sometimes survivors have strange personality traits that make them consume more food or medication regularly. How do you control for this?
Usually these little quirks in personality aren't too significant, but to entertain this question, if their eating or consuming habits push you into a deficit per day despite reasonably maximum efforts, exiling may be necessary. But if you ask me, one should be most cautious of irritating and easily frustrated community members. they can affect morale significantly and for a long period of time. It is considerably easier to lose resources due to low morale as opposed to someone who consumes a little more food than the rest. To put things into perspective, my community in the Nightmare Zone typically sits at the empowered level, with some of the individuals sitting at the cheerful level, and every now and then a community member will destroy something or consume more food than usual. It's not frequent, but the fact that it still happens, despite being on the happier side, says something about how morale can affect one's resources, should it be at a lower level. It's also fair to mention that although there are chances of survivors over-consuming, there are also chances of allies or other enclaves who provide extra daily food or meds. This can allow for some error or shortcoming among community members. So there is admittedly an aspect of luck.
I see. So provided everything goes ideally well, one should be gaining resources every day while alternating between food and meds production. It is recommended they start off with gardening, computers, and medicine. For new community members, they should focus on acquiring a second gardener for herbalism, a chemist, a mechanic, and a utilities expert with electrical specialization. The corresponding facilities one should have are hydroponics, a field hospital or level 3 infirmary, a fully upgraded and modified command center, a still, a level 3 workshop or Red Talon workshop, and a solar array. And if they have more survivors, then they may need a farm or an additional hydroponics to help with the food increase.
Correct, and overall, try to maintain your morale levels as they can influence the consumption of your resources.
So were you going to discuss the other skills survivors should have in regards to cardio, wits, fighting, and shooting? Surely those are relevant when surviving in the Nightmare Zone.
Absolutely relevant, but perhaps we'll discuss those at another time. Otherwise, that is all this onion.
And this onion.
That is all these onions have to say. Thank you very much for stopping by, and we'll see you next time.